But, we try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Some people say, the media is too nice, too kind, not hardcore enough. So you want to give a guy that's in his first year, first time as head coach, benefit of the doubt. So that's kind of the mindset that we always approach things with, especially with Freddie Kitchens. So that's kind of where we're coming at this. It hasn't been a good first half of his first season.
No,
it really
and I
hasn't.
think in some cases you see guys come into first year as rookie head coaches and they're taking over a really bad situation, right? And I think so he's being judged a little differently because of what happened in the last half of last year.
Right.
People thought that this was a team that was really starting to come into its own, as opposed to a team like that Hugh Jackson took over after.
Right.
Well,
and they added a lot. They added some big name guys via trade, and so part of the problem is the expectations were probably a little bit higher, and by us included, probably a little bit higher than they should have been.
And partly though, I think they were a little higher because people looked at the AFC North and saw the possibility of a couple of these teams starting to hit the downward spiral. Now, I think wrongly, some people threw Baltimore in there and thought, oh, they're not going to be as good. They lost a couple, C.J. Mosley, a couple of really good defensive players. We know now that they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. We didn't expect Roethlisberger to get hurt, but people thought he was maybe gone this way, and his career in Baker was gone that way. As it turns out, Baker's been going this way, and that totally changes everything.
Yeah, and some people are starting to question, is he the guy? I don't know that's not necessarily fair.
I don't know about you. I'm not there yet.
No, I'm not either.
I'm not there yet. I don't think
it's not fair to him. I mean, you have to expect now the NFL guys had an entire offseason to say, he has trouble doing this. And that's what we're seeing. He has trouble.
Well, I think I mentioned to you off air that Aqib-Talib was on radio today nationally and said that when they played the Browns, that they purposely had guys funnel drop left because they knew to trap him because they knew he was going to run right. And when he did that, there wasn't any place for him to go. So now he's cut the field in half, and he's trying to throw either back across his body or into this little window. And by Talib's estimation, that was he thinks that he did that maybe 15 or 20 times that game, where he abandoned the pocket and just went that way. And I remember coaches in Berea talking about Colt-McCoy and how that was his habit for a little while, and they were trying to break him of it. So we'll see. I mean, these guys, the hardest job in this league is playing quarterback, and it doesn't surprise me that he isn't a finished product or that he didn't just hit this upswing and keep going in that direction.
And he'll figure it out. He's a good enough athlete, and he's a competitor. So he will eventually figure it out. I think that it's a pretty rough spot for him right now.
It is. And when you throw in a guy, as we know, the second hardest job maybe in the NFL is head coach. So you have two guys that are new to it, and it's showing.
Well, we took a look at some of the legendary Hall of Fame type head coaches and what they have done as rookie head coaches in their first 8 games, and it's pretty eye-opening. Now, in fairness, most of these guys, you saw Landry is 0-8, you see Shula. Usually when you take over a team, it's because they were really, really bad the year before, and you've got to do a major rebuild. But still, it goes to show you some really good head coaches struggled a whole lot in the first half of their first year. You hope for Freddie Kitchens' sake, he's one of those guys that is just struggling early and will put it together. Yeah,
one of the things that jumps out at me is that some of those coaches at the top of the list were from an era when you couldn't immediately improve your team through free agency, as you can now. So to your point earlier, I think that's one of the reasons why we're looking at Freddie with, a pretty sharp focus, is that he not only inherited a team with what we think is a young franchise quarterback, but he had 2, excellent receivers, or at least very good receivers in Landry and Beckham, and a guy who has shown this year that he's among the top 3 or 4 running backs in the league, I think. I mean, maybe you would still put Cowboys running back.
Ezekiel
Elliott.
Yep.
I'm sure you'd still put him at the top of the list, but this guy is this guy is going to be a really good player for a really long time.
And the thing is, you want to build the offense around him because if you do that right and you establish the run, it only sets up your ability to throw the ball deep to your really good wide receiver in Odell Beckham. They haven't figured that out yet. That's frustrating.
I heard a criticism of the Patriots game that they came out on a wet day and their first 5 or 6 plays were passes. I didn't have a problem with that. Sometimes in this league, you do come out throwing, and then that helps you even more when you're handing off. But they got to Chubb pretty quickly in that game, and he just happened to have a freak accident where he gets one ball kicked out of his possession, and the other was a bad fumble. So,
did you happen to see I saw something on the internet, the all 22 of that. The guy that caused the fumble was blocked on the far side of the play on the ground. He got up and ran about 65 yards and created the fumble. That dude was out of the play who came and stripped the ball. And it just goes to show you that's what they're coaching defensively in New England.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is, I don't want to say alarming, but I think one of the things that I didn't expect to happen, and I know you and I are going to get into the actual parts of the team that are
in a little bit,
overperforming or underperforming.
There's a lot more that are.
There's a lot more underperforming, but I really have been taken a little aback at when they get down in a game. They seem to have these moments when, I don't want to say guys quit, but they just get, they get banged for a really big play, and it seems to deflate them for a while, and then they come back a little bit. And I've not been real impressed with the defense overall and the defensive line in particular.
And again, I think it comes back to focus. That when I say focus, it's kind of like they're kind of upset, PO'd at themselves because they let that happen, and then they get popped with another big play. Yeah, and that's. You got to get out of that cycle if you're the Browns defense.
Yeah, and we've seen, we saw it in the Tennessee game with they score, it's a tight game, they give up the screen pass that goes for a touchdown. We saw it with the tight end in this last game. Overall, if you have a rookie, not just a rookie quarterback, a guy taking his first snap in an NFL regular season game, I don't think they nearly made him as uncomfortable as he should have felt.
You should have had the Browns backers from Denver blitzing him
exactly
at Mile High.
Yeah,
and I just didn't. I was surprised by that, quite frankly.
I was too.
I thought they would try to get after him, and the reason for that, I'm not sure. Our Facebook question for today was, if not Coach Kitchens, then who? And we got some interesting responses to this.
Anybody?
There you go.
That was a guess. I didn't even see that.
You didn't even see these.
I just know Browns fans.
Anybody? How about Dan with bring back Greg Williams? Not sure that's. Although at this point in time, who knows? That isn't necessarily.
You could certainly make the argument that they would be better off this season if they had kept Williams as the head coach and Freddie in his spot. Giving Freddie more money.
Now, I think they thought Freddie Kitchens was going to be hired away as a head coach.
I do think they thought that, and there were things about Greg Williams that they didn't like, and we've heard a couple players come out and say that if Greg Williams had been retained, they would have asked to be traded. So, who knows?
Yeah. Andy says Steve Wilks in the interim and hire a veteran head coach in the offseason like Mike McCarthy.
Can I say this? For whatever reason, Mike McCarthy is not on their list. They never talked to him the last time. I had heard about from people who know people in the front office that he was never a serious candidate.
And that says more than anything because there's a lot of folks that are from the Green Bay front office. So, it might be just a matter of, his time in the NFL. The NFL has kind of gotten by what he likes to do and those kind of things. Rick May, stick with Kitchens until the end of the year, then decide switching midstream won't solve the problem. No direction, no discipline, no defensive stopper. There's a lot of no's in there.
Yeah, and I agree with him, by the way. I don't think they should make a change in the middle of the season.
Rest of the season, Steve Wilks is what Michael Cerialo says. And Steve Wilks has he was only 1 year at Arizona.
Yeah,
so.
and Monken was a candidate after this last season in Tampa, but he didn't seem to get a serious interviews, or at least second interviews.
And then who's the running backs coach is the question. That would be Stump Mitchell, I believe. I believe I got the answer to that.
Yeah, it worked so well the last time. Why not do that again?
Well, maybe he's thinking that's one of the areas of the team that's performing well.
True.
Let me throw
True.
that out there for you.
That's true.